Shoes. Recorded live.
Yo, this is Gangster Bolshevik Radio. I'm Daryl here with Jonathan Lee Richards. Michael Sajdak from Chicago is expected to call in, and it's also open to others. What's up, John?
Jonathan Lee Richards in the house. Yo.
So, why don't you explain your situation, since nobody's going to really cut you off today? Like, what you did, the Sandy Hook prank, all that, like what you're known for, and your experiences in jail.
Sure. Happy to help you.
Okay.
Happy to assist you and happy to contribute. Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
So, right now, currently, about 3 hours before our new year, I am in a halfway house in North Philadelphia. I've been incarcerated now for 3 years and about 11 days for probation violation. It's kind of ridiculous. So, everyone is about to say Happy New Year tonight. They're not realizing that once that clock ticks 12:01 a.m., there's going to be about 5,000 new state, federal, and local laws, rules, policy, and procedures that ultimately affects our rights. Anything and everything. I mean, you park 2 feet from away from your curb, you're subject to fine, local ordinance 128-126, fine $69. If you don't have your gutters upright, that's another fine, and so on and so on. These local communities are a cash cow that's just exploiting the people. That's just my frustration. But as far as my own circumstances, yeah, I went up to Sandy Hook, but they do it. I didn't say I did it in court, though. I tried to play the denial role, but, you know, I hire $20,000 for an attorney in Westchester, Pennsylvania. His name was Robert Donatoni. The gentleman was totally ineffective.
Yo, what's up? 819 Sajak here.
Yeah. Jonathan's
what's going on,
here
guys?
explaining his situation, what he's been doing the last few years, and then we'll get to what you've been doing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds good.
How you doing, Mr. Sajak, Mr. Riches?
Man, it's an honor to be on this call with you, man. You're a legend. You saved my life, man, and you know, you're my hero. So I'm really excited and really happy to be on.
Hey, I'm grateful and I am humble for you saying that. It really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right, yeah.
So as far as my own situation, yeah. So this is the deal. This is what happened. This is my own injustice. Okay, yes, I went to federal prison for 10 years, 125 months. Got arrested February 25th, 2003. I was living in Florida. Me and my fiance, co-defendant, live-in girlfriend, you can call her. Her name was Stephanie Doyle. So, yeah, we were doing fraud in Florida. We were doing fraud for a while. And unfortunately, a gentleman out in Texas named Jason Michael Carpenter, he was doing a bunch of credit card fraud, and he got caught unrelated for, you know, credit carding packages to vacant houses. From that point, you know, they zeroed in on him, local police, not FBI. And then instead of trying to, you know, take the rap for a couple $100 worth of packages, he decided to talk to the FBI and tell them that there's another crew in Florida doing much bigger and badder things. From that point, Mr. Carpenter set me up with a wiretap. Basically, at the time, I had a database. I had a DMV database. You give me a driver's, or you give me a license plate of anyone's vehicle. I could tell you who the vehicle belongs to. Carpenter calls me up one day and comes up with this lame story. He says, yo, bro, a Mexican, you know, was just outside my house. He hit my car, and he took off, but I got his license plate. Can you run it for me, whatever like that? And, you know, as a friend, I said, yeah, sure, give me the license plate. So he, I gave him the license plate, but at the time I was being recorded. Now, at that point, there comes probable cause in the court of law. At that point, FBI began watching me. They were watching me, you know, on a daily basis, you know, do my rounds of fraudulent activity and whatnot. So the day I got arrested, February 25th, 2013, I robbed 5 banks that day. And when I say robbed, I actually got a credit card and a fraudulent driver's license because I made driver's licenses with a PVC printer, and I would go into banks. Now, you would think if the FBI is watching me rob 5 banks, they would actually arrest me after the first bank because, you know, you see a crime in progress, you got to stop it. But the FBI just continued to watch me. And then the fifth bank come out and I get arrested. So I get arrested, and Stephanie gets arrested, and they basically raid the home and take a bunch of evidence and whatnot. I've never seen the light of day since. So being incarcerated, get out, get 125 months, the whole judicial proceedings down there in Texas. I got actually extradited to the Southern District of Texas. And this is a reminder to the world that the FBI can and will extradite you anywhere. You think you're safe on your soil. I've never been to Texas in my life. I did all my crimes in Florida. They just plucked me and took me to Houston, Texas, because why? A conspiracy starts there. So you kind of, it kind of happens to the drug dealers down there in South America and whatnot that get extradited to the United States, or the terrorists, the so-called de facto terrorists that are overseas that the United States kidnaps and bring them here and try and, convict them or more or less give them a life sentence. Well, the same thing. If you feel you're safe on your soil, in your land, in your own jurisdiction, beware, buyer beware, because they're coming, and they can come and they can pluck you up and then take you and dismantle you, your lifestyle, and take you into a community, try, convict you, and then basically send you off to a concentration camp, a.k.a. federal prison at any level. So my own injustice, I pled guilty to a $400 wire transfer. That's all I pled guilty to. Once you plead guilty on the federal level, then you waive your rights to appeal, and then there's this thing called 2B1.1, relevant conduct, and these people at this point, the federal government can, under the preponderance of the evidence, same thing in the civil procedure, can say however dollar amount that you took, basically without any evidence, just preponderance. So more or less they said, I was a kingpin in an international identity theft ring that was responsible for $20.7 million, whatever like that, and I got jacked up all the way up to federal sentencing guidelines and got 125 months.
It's not beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the standard for a lot of other things in law.
Correct. So
Good.
Being incarcerated at that point, I'm incarcerated, and then eventually I do get out. When I get out, this is the deal. While I was incarcerated in the federal prison, Chester County, Pennsylvania, for some reason had a detainer on me from an old case right back from 1995. I used my telephone to record conversations. I was charged with wiretapping, legally taping somebody without their consent. Pennsylvania is one of the states that it's a felony. Most states it's a misdemeanor. I was charged. I was put on 5 years probation, so I didn't do no jail time for that. However, they put a detainer on me. About 2 days before release from federal prison in 2012, the detainer was lifted for I don't know what reason, and I was let free. I go move back up to Pennsylvania to live with my mother because my mother was battling cancer at the time, and while in Pennsylvania, I'm going about my business on federal supervised release. While on federal supervised release, suddenly I get a letter in the mail. The letter says, report to Chester County Court of Common Pleas for a probation violation from 1995. So I'm sitting here thinking, what is this going on? You're trying to persecute me 18 years later, from 17 years later, 18 years, something like that. What's going on here? There's a due process, that sort of deal. And, I used some money, significant amount of money to get an attorney, and the attorney said, don't worry about it. They're not going to give you jail time. However, they want to reinstate that old probation to run concurrent with a federal supervised release. Therefore, I would be on 2 jurisdictional probations running concurrent at the same time. So I was with it. I didn't know the repercussions of it down the line. So then, I'm on two probations. About a month or two later, Sandy Hook occurs, and I do what I do and go up to Sandy Hook, and I end up violating for leaving the state without permission. However, since I was on 2 probations, therefore I have to be punished twice for the same act, which is akin to what I think is double jeopardy, but they say it's under dual sovereignty, the dual sovereignty doctrine that both of them can crack at me consecutive, even though it was concurrent, for doing the same act. So Pennsylvania, for a probation violation, gives me a 2.5 to 5 years for a technical violation, probably the most harshest probation violation sentenced in Pennsylvania modern history without an arrest. I wasn't even arrested. It was just a technical violation.
The Sandy Hook prank was freaking hilarious. You went up and you were praying, you went up and actually saw the Lanza house, and then it was like you were praying and you're acted like, and they said the media came to you and you said you were Jonathan Lanza, who probably doesn't even exist, and then he said all sorts of stuff like he was on FANAP, and the whole media ran with it. It was they put up a video that was hilarious, although they took it down. There's still little clips of it, and then he ran away. So tell about that whole thing.
Yeah, so Sandy Hook, basically I went up there, with my own parody and mockery videos and produced a lot of videos. Actually, a lot of videos have not been released yet. I still have in my archives that I'm looking forward to release this spring. It'd be very shocking because, I was actually at Adam Lanza's window in his house and get chased off by a neighbor. I have another video when Dr. Sanjay Gupta of CNN was up there, and he was in a sandwich shop getting a coffee and a sandwich, and he came out, and I actually confronted him with my camera and asked him his take on the Sandy Hook and his belief that this could be a false flag attack, and then he didn't respond to me, so then I asked him for his green card, and I asked him if he was here legally, and he just got red-faced and ran off from me. A lot of other videos, so I'm looking forward to release those videos. As far as the memorial, the Sandy Hook, I actually went up to the memorial, and I noticed a lot of cameras are all over the place. So I actually was texting and communicating with a lot of my friends saying, hey, look, do you see me live on TV right now? Because the cameras were rolling. Every media outlet in the world was up there. And some people were saying, actually, they were seeing me, believe it or not. And I don't know what footage. I guess it was the local affiliates out of New York City, the ABC and the NBC out of New York City. But then I decided to get on my knees and start praying. At that point, while I was praying on my knees, I could hear the snapshots, like camera snapshot me. So I thought, okay, let me just wing this. So I just pretend I was crying. And I started crying and going hysterical, and the cameras are rolling. I get up from the memorial, and this one media journalist comes up to me and goes, sir, you're very emotional here. What's going on? And then at that point, I just winged it. I'm Jonathan Lanza, uncle of the shooter.
And there's a great
Adam
video.
Lanza.
Unfortunately, they took that video down, but it was hilarious. I didn't know you were going to put on probation, so I posted it.
Correct. So at this point, by identifying myself as Jonathan Lanza, then I started getting flooded like cockroaches. Everybody, all media outlets started swarming me, wanting an interview and asking me my take, and I just winged it. And, I basically said I was with Adam Lanza 2 weeks prior. We had a barbecue. Everything was fine. It had to be the medication. It had to be the FANAP, and so on and so on. At that point, I started getting worried, a little scared, because I was getting overwhelmed with the media, and I'm not used to media coverage like that. So I kind of
like thing made the news, and I don't think there was any truth to it either. But like somebody said it was on FANAP, and then they had to retract it.
Correct. After they've realized it was a hoax or whatnot, I was referred as the Sandy Hook hoaxster and whatnot. So I basically ran off, kind of walked away from the scene, but I was getting chased by media, and I didn't know what to do, because my car was up the road and I was parked across the street from a church. And believe it or not, during that time, the actual victims of the shootings, the family, were praying in that church. And the church was basically, there was security outside the church to protect the families and whatnot. My car was parked across the street, and I was running up the hill, and the media was chasing me, but I didn't want to get in my car because they might have gotten my license plate and realized that I was not Jonathan Lanza and identified me or whatnot. So I just looked at the church, and I just ran to the church. And at that point, the security saw me and must have realized that the media were chasing me because I was a victim's family member or somebody. So they grabbed me, the security, and ushered me into the church and told the other media to back off the property. And I get into the church, and I was thanking them. Thank you. You saved my life. These people want an interview from me and whatnot. I said, my nephew died from this tragedy, and I switched the role playing at that point. Now I become a victim's family member.
No videos of that, though, I don't think.
What's that?
I don't think there's any videos of what happened in the church.
There was videos to the chase all the way up to Sandy Hook, or up to the church, and then at that point,
the church.
More or less onto the property. I don't remember me going actually in the church, but I remember me crossing the road to the church, and then I think the video's cut off or whatnot. But I go into the church. Now you got to be
really descriptive, because we didn't get to see any of this.
What's that?
We didn't get to see what happened in the church, so you got to tell us all.
Yeah, so I go into the church, and once I get into the church, like I said, I told him, thank you, you saved my life and whatnot. The preacher of the church, now there's victims' family members flooded in there, praying. And one of the preachers, or I don't know who he was, he must have been the head preacher there, comes out and talks to me, and I said, look, you don't even understand, these media here are trying to get an interview from me, whatever like that, and I need your help. So he brings over a big gentleman inside the church, and he goes, this guy's a retired police officer. He's security here. Give him the keys to your car. He'll pull it around back, and you can get in your car and leave. And I was at that. For a second, I was going to give him my keys, but I realized on the front seat of my car was Adam and Ryan Lanza dolls that I had with their pictures on dolls, Cabbage Patch dolls, on my front seat. And I was like, no way, man, I'm not going to give this guy my car, a cop, my car and my key, or the keys in my car, so he could see some Lanza dolls on my front seat. He's going to think I'm a weirdo.
And your James Holmes and Lanza dolls are in your YouTube videos, but and you place them in the videos. Go ahead.
Yes. So I said no. I can't go that route. But I said I need some help getting out of here, whatnot. And he said, well, come down to the basement. I'll give you a change of clothes, like a disguise. And this guy here, and he had like some escort guy. He said he'll take you through the woods, through the town, down the street, and you can go about your way. And I said, okay, cool. So I put on a different outfit, went out the back door of the church, and we started walking in the woods. And then I realized how, this is ridiculous. This is cold, whatever. So I just gave my keys to the guy that they had with me. I said, look, dude, here, just take my keys. This is my car. It's across the street from the church. Bring it down here right now, whatever, like that. I got lucky because on my front seat, the dolls were there, but I had a towel over the dolls. So he didn't get to see the dolls. So he brings my car, and then I pretty much get in my car. I start driving off. I see the media still outside the church. I drive down to the high school because the word was Barack Obama was going to fly into town and talk to some of the victims' families. He was flying. So I actually parked down the street from the high school and went through the woods up to the high school where there were some media people already camped out there, and I was there for a while. I was there for about an hour or two, but then Secret Service came. They came early before Barack arrived and started sweeping the property. So Secret Service, they asked me up for my media credentials. They asked me who I was, and I told them, I'm media. I'm an independent journalist. And they asked me for my media credentials. I didn't have any and stuff like that, so I got escorted off the property. That was around 4 p.m. that day. This was Sunday, the 16th. The 14th was on a Friday. Sandy Hook was on a Friday, so this was the 16th on a Sunday. It was later on in the day, and I just basically got in the car and I started driving off and driving home because it was about a 5-hour drive. But then my cell phone started ringing, and it was a bunch of my friends, my followers, and my fans telling me, yo, dude, you all over the news as the uncle, blah, 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 and then my phone starts going off and people are sending me links. It already went viral that I was Jonathan Lanza.
And they took it down. And by the way, that same day you were going to run with me, but then the shooting happened. So go ahead.
Yeah, so, I drove home and I go home and I see there's a bunch of links and major publications announcing me as the uncle. I go on Google Images and I see a lot of the, I guess it's one of the media photographer companies called Getty Images. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Getty Images, they're the ones that actually, get a lot of pictures of crime scene events and different tragic events or good events, whatever. But, I started seeing pictures of me viral online, kneeling at the memorial, whatnot, news programs as Jonathan. But then I guess something happened in the next day or two where people started realizing, I wasn't who I was, and then that started going viral. A lot of these places that put me out as Jonathan Lanza started retracting it. I just think it's amazing that a media would actually put me out there as Jonathan Lanza without me providing them any credentials and, just saying who I am. I mean, that's a classic form of media trolling and incompetence on the media's part, I would say. Mm-hmm. So that was the deal. Basically, I posted the videos up on the Facebook, local police department. I don't know, some way, somehow, I guess somebody falls down to my police department and says that the videos are online, and then they see the videos, and then one day I'm just taking a shower. I guess it's on the 19th of December, and there's a knock on my door, and there's about 20 police officers at my door ready to detain me, and I haven't seen the light of day since. I am in a current halfway house, which I do get out on a daily basis, to go about my business. I'm allowed cell phones here and everything like that, so I'm not in any violation of anything. I have a curfew and whatnot, and I'll be released fully this spring.
Yep. Good. And we'll listen to all of you. I'll take part in your videos.
Oh, well, you know, I'm looking forward to releasing the other material. I think it's going to be like nice raw material, and it'll be great, and hopefully it'll put some smiles on people's faces and get people mad at me. That's, you know, that's a matter of opinion. That's a matter of the eye of the beholder.
So now, you can keep going if you want, but we could hear Michael's story because he's been out for a year.
Mike's story?
Yeah, sure.
Mike's story.
So tell us what you've been doing the past year.
Yeah, man, it's been a pretty productive year for me, actually. I was sort of offline looking for work. I was unemployed, living with my mother for a pretty long time. And then I finally, you know, found a job. So now I'm just sort of, I kind of see myself as like a mole, if you will, because, you know, I'm working here as a customer support representative for Uber. And so I'm in this corporate world, but I'm sort of also living sort of like a double life where, on the other hand, I'm plotting for the world to come, which is something that I think we're all sort of GB, Gangster Bolshevik is all about, you know. So yeah. I sort of just covertly have been doing my own work for GB and had some books released, actually, which was nice. Worked with Paul Bingham, co-wrote Black House Rocked.
That's Breck, by the way. Go ahead. Other people know him as Breck. Paul Bingham. Other people know him as Breck. Go ahead.
Oh, Breck, right? Yeah. Yeah. So me and him basically sort of collaborated on this book, this novella, sort of like a vampire genre sort of thing. And that was published by Ann Sturzinger's Hopeless Books, Unincorporated, which is a little small press she made. And for those that don't know, for those of you who don't know who Ann Sturzinger is, she's like one of the more prominent writers for the alt-right. And just a really cool person. I had coffee with her a couple weeks ago, actually, and met her for the first time, and she's just a really sweet person. So, and my poetry book, Panna's Dad, was sort of self-published. Actually, Al, or Harlem, published that for me, because I was broke at the time, using on a CreateSpace, Amazon, where you can basically publish your own work, self-publish. So he published my poetry book, and both have been getting some, you know, good reviews from alt-right, you know, bloggers and platforms like Countercurrents, for example, Matt Forney's blog. So yeah, it's been a pretty productive year for me, man. But I've also been just sort of laying low, just doing my thing, you know.
Michael, JLR here. You know, while incarcerated, while I was in state prison, I appreciate your correspondence. I did get some letters from you. You sent me some material that I actually passed along to an individual that's his type of topic, that he was grateful for also. And I really did appreciate that.
Oh, it was my pleasure to corresponding with you. Again, it was an honor. I mean, you know, I'm really glad that you're out now. And actually, I was going to. I don't know if I can even talk about it yet. But Harlem, who's a fellow Gangster Bolshevik, is planning an event in March. I think in March or April, late March or early April. He's going to fly back into the U.S. Washington D.C. and he's going to chain himself to the Martin Luther King statue.
Nice.
And everybody came back. Jonathan came back. You came back, and Harlan came back.
Yeah. We all just sort of came back from our own sort of respective black holes. Harlem's still sort of hitchhiking around somewhere. I think he's in Thailand now, actually. And I do keep a pretty, you know, consistent correspondence with him via email. We always write to each other. So he informed me about this event that he's trying to stage. And I said, man, that's that's beautiful. It's a great.
What is the cause to this? What is his purpose of doing this for? What is he trying to?
Right, he's trying to basically stand up against the the evils of anti-racism, and sort of he wrote a manifesto actually. Daryl, are you outside?
Huh?
Are you outside, Daryl? There's a lot of background noise.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, but yeah. So Harlem has his own sort of political agenda, if you will. He wrote a manifesto, which you can also get on Amazon, called "Hello: First Principles on Ending That Which We Oppose," which is everything that he's basically trying to do or trying to communicate is in that manifesto. Jonathan, JLR, if you want, I can link it to you on your Facebook page.
Yeah,
or something.
sure. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it and give you my feedback on it.
Yeah.
Just tell him to be mindful, be careful, because a lot of times people go to Washington for whatever cause and end up violating some sort of rule or policy within the District of Columbia. Example, there's a gentleman online, Adam Kokesh. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, Adam the Beast. He's an advocate for Second Amendment rights. He would do the same thing and basically go, and he went to Washington and with his gun, and basically got arrested. So
nice, yeah.
By chaining himself onto a memorial, he might be violating some sort of rule that could get him.
That's possible.
And the D.C. District of Columbia, actually, believe it or not, that's federal jurisdiction. So any crime committed in D.C. would ultimately you would ultimately go to federal prison if you got time.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So, the federal prisons are actually, believe it or not, the federal prisons are saturated with D.C. inmates, notorious black inmates from D.C. that are flooded around the system. Basically, they're petty street crime type people, but since they're in the District of Columbia, they're under federal jurisdiction. So they come to the federal prisons and actually pollute it, believe it or not, with their bad attitudes and gang mentality and whatnot.
That's an interesting story. I didn't know that at all.
Yes, that's true. So
I know Pennsylvania prison was in Central PA was very racially. Let's just say there weren't that many white people there.
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections actually runs their facilities relatively safe, believe it or not. It is controlled. There was advantages and disadvantages between that and federal prison. One, for me, I like the federal prisons because the federal prisons I can get out of my cell. You're not locked in all day, and I basically can get up at 5 a.m. and go run in the rec yard all morning long, and go at my own will and take a shower whenever I want. The Pennsylvania prison system, you are locked in controlled movements. Basically, in order to come out your cell, the guards will open all the gates at the same time, and you got these line movements. You go to chow and you come back and you lock in. They'll call a rec. Move, and everyone will go to the rec yard at the same time. So there's hundreds and hundreds of people out there. In federal prison, you can pick and choose when you want to go out, so you can critique it to when there's, not a lot of people. But the Pennsylvania prison system, one, the mail, when you send the mail out, it's sealed. They don't read your mail. And two, you can have cable in your cell. And, I was able to manipulate the system to get V-coded. V-coded means not having a cellmate. I have had cellmates, but towards the end of my sentence, I went a good year without a cellmate. So I was by myself in a cell with cable. It's kind of nice, especially watching mainstream media, which I love, the CNNs and the Fox's News and whatnot.
By the way, people might not know, but me and Ed visited Jonathan while he was in prison. Go ahead.
Yes, and I appreciate that. You see how gangster I was looking with my beard, gray. From years of stress, but I did enjoy the visit. You guys bought me a soda. It was good to get out and talk to fellow comrades and catch up on old stuff. Most of the inmates in jail are sheeple, or they talk about nothing in substance. So I don't really fit in with many people there.
Uh-huh.
Now, I just wanted to let you guys know and say on record that I did some troll lawsuits out tonight. So and I paid tribute to GB. One suit that's going to be filed probably next week will get processed. It's called G.B. White versus Ronda Rousey. You know, Ronda Rousey from the UFC. That's going to be an interesting lawsuit if it gets filed, and we'll see if it gets filed. And it's some very interesting, juicy allegations against Ronda Rousey. And another one, Wendy McDonald's versus Jared Fogle in Subway. So the heading of the suit will be McDonald's versus Subway and Jared Fogle. So keep a lookout for that. We'll see if the media bites on that. See if the media reports it as it is. You know how they are, non-fact checkers. They just report anything.
Yeah.
But you know, the situation, it is what it is. Everybody got to be mindful that federal rules, laws, and regulations, feds come after you for everything, you know. And there's this thing on, you know, there's this initiative that I'm noticing online about these politicians talking about federal sentencing reform. The prisons are so overcrowded. You know, Barack Obama visiting a federal prison out in El Reno, Oklahoma, visiting halfway houses, saying that more inmates need more educational programs and whatnot. I think it's just a sham and a farce. Same drumbeats going on. There's no programs in prison. It's more or less warehousing. There's nothing. There's Unicor. Unicor is the federal prison industries that basically labor inmates to just do slave work all day at like 12 cents an hour, and then they sell the furniture and all the equipment and whatnot that the inmates make and make a profit off of, and pretty much inmates to watch TV and play sports. I mean, that's pretty much what you do all day. Nothing of nothing. And these people that with nothing of nothing are going to get out of jail pretty soon.
Uh-huh. All right. I'll be right back on and kind of making a purchase.
What about you, Daryl, man?
I'll be on in just a minute.
Okay.
Yep. Supposed to like this.
Are we still on?
Yeah, I'm still on. I'm going to be back in just a minute. Can you guys just talk for a little bit?
Yeah, sure, bro. Anyway, so JLR, hold on, let me get you off speaker here. So yeah, about that event in Washington, D.C., we were actually hoping to get you maybe to show up and maybe even just like pay your respects or something. I should be there. I'll be there. I'll be sort of doing my own thing. Maybe recording some videos.
I would love to. For me, I would be on a little bit more forms of supervision, and obviously they're not going to probably let me leave the state. That's probably my own situation, but otherwise, being in prison earlier in the year and seeing the events that unfolded in Baltimore with the riots and whatnot, ultimately, if I was home, I would have been right on. I would have been right on.
Before that.
I would have been right at the front lines. I would have been on the front lines of Baltimore. I would have been in a black kufi with a black ISIS flag, waving it in front of the officers, right on the street, right in front of them. I would have been right there. In Ferguson, I would have been right there too. And I would have probably been downtown Ferguson trolling either Darren Wilson or Michael Brown, playing both sides of the fence. Striking both sides.
And that's something, by the way, JLR, that I really admire about your work is that it's sort of politically ambiguous. Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't necessarily have an agenda to it.
There's no cause. I advocate no cause. I just like to have fun and just kind of make my presence known in the scene and have a little fun in the process.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might be for a cause, I might be for a cause, and I might be against the cause. And I vice versa. I switch it up.
That's exactly. Part of GB ideology. Is that we're trolling the system as it is. We're not necessarily trying to fix it. We're like termites.
You just play the role. And you adjust on the fly, and you just wing it in a sense, and you see what happens, and you don't take it personal. I don't take personal what anyone says to me.
The key thing is that we're not we're not right-wing types that are trying to bring back America and make it great again. We're kind of ants that are eating at the termites that are eating at the anthill who have kind of realized things are fucked up and have given up on trying to fix things.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like my own situation right now, I think that I'm going to declare myself the first transgender Muslim in the United States. Basically, I'm going to ask for transgender rights for the LGBT community as being a Muslim. I think that would be highly offensive to the Muslims.
Thing. But I didn't go the whole way of it. I just made a post and people wrote it off as a joke.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be beautiful. Like, obviously, when I'm on federal supervised release, well, I can't have a male probation officer watching me pee in a cup. I demand to have a woman's bathroom. I demand, hormonal treatment. I demand that if I ever violate again, to be placed into a woman's facility, not a man's facility, and so on and so on.
You might actually have to get your dick removed and have it turned into a pussy to do that.
Well, I don't know the process, and I don't know how far extreme I would go, but knowing me, maybe I would do that just to say I do it, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. I'll just play it by ear, and when the opportunity comes, I'll see what happens. But it is an idea. It's an idea that I'm contemplating at this time.
Well, I'd definitely be excited to see that happen.
Yeah, it'd probably be interesting what my own family thinks. My family loves me a lot. I'm grateful for my mother, by the way, because my mother, all the years she's put up with my shenanigans, and, in her eyes, I let her down, but she still loves me. She still supports me. She's there for me every time, and I will always be appreciative of that, and hopefully I can spend, she had cancer, and she's a little sick, and hopefully I can spend a little bit of time, on this earth with her before whatever happens in the future. I am grateful for her. I love my mother very much.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I do. I'm in the same boat, actually. More or less, I don't see my father, so I only, still communicate with my mother, and so I can definitely relate to that as well.
You were asking about what I did when I was out of register, like the last few years. I've continued to work on my skill set, which includes, programmer, analyst type stuff. But in terms of trolling, honestly, GP Radio kind of fizzled because, like I said, you, Jonathan, and Harlem, Michael, Jonathan, and Harlem just came back, and I think a lot of Paul and Breck, Paul/Breck, is kind of hasn't been doing a lot of radio. So lately, until you guys came back, I wasn't doing that much radio. I was just kind of, trolling around Philadelphia, basically.
Well, yeah, that's something that definitely, for me personally, once I'm released, most definitely in the Philadelphia tri-state area where I'm able to, be, it's definitely going to take advantage of my jurisdiction, and I'm going to have some fun in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas, big time. I have a lot of, sitting in jail, you can plot and scheme, and I have a lot of ideas that I definitely want to put into fruition.
What states are you allowed to go to?
What's that?
What states are you allowed to visit? Only Pennsylvania?
I'm allowed to visit New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania.
Somebody's echoing with your computer. My phone is echoing.
Yeah, that's not me.
Somebody got a dog. I've heard a dog.
No, it's not me. I don't have a dog. Daryl, I think it's coming from your end, Daryl.
I'm logging into the chat. Just give me a minute. I have to get on Wi-Fi.
Might be somebody personally trying to sabotage the conversation.
That's a possibility.
I'm going to be in the chat in just a second. Hold on. I have to connect to the internet, and I'm going to see who it is. Keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it happens when Daryl speaks. I think.
Right now, see, with TalkShoe, there's also a chat room, and I have to administrate that to start and end the program. And if I get into that, I can see who this is. But the problem is it's taking me a while to connect to Wi-Fi.
Got better.
I'll be able to take care of it once I get in.
Now, there was some things I was doing.
Just keep going for now.
All right, well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna have to sign off. I gotta handle some affairs over here.
All right, JR. Hey, man. Hey, Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, take care of you guys, man.
All right, 819. See you, JR.
Pastor Lindstedt here. I don't know if that. All right. Hey,
Daryl, I'm probably gonna sign off too, because this static is
All right.
really ruining the call.
Yeah,
so
it's a good time to end the show. We had a good show. We don't want to ruin it with a bunch of static and crap. So 819. See you guys.
Yeah, 819. Happy New Year, guys. All right.
Happy New Year.